baby! COVID-19, check it out. This is the Columbia Icefield Parkway. This should be packed with tourists. I have it all to myself. Woo! I've seen goats, I've seen bears, I've seen elk. Woo! Hey guys, Martyupnorth, back home. Did a little visit up north. I live in Calgary, but I lived a good part of my life up in Edson. That's where I met my wife. So for this May long weekend, I went up north to visit the in-laws with the family. We helped put in the docks in at the lake, and then Karen came back home and I went on a little tour. I have a trip planned later this summer in Wilmore Wilderness and one on the south boundary, so I wanted to go see what the snow conditions are like up there. And I got to the Cardinal Divide but was unable to go over the divide, so then I had to backtrack. And as I was backtracking, I went by the Whitehorse Wilderness, and I decided, since I was already there, my initial hike of going in over the Cardinal Divide didn't work out. So as I was backtracking, I decided I'll just go over to Whitehorse Creek, and I hiked in and out solo on that trip. So it's a mixed match of a video. It's pretty long. I'll do it in two parts. The first part is a visit through Mountain Park and the coal branch and a bit of a history lesson. But if you're not interested in that, there's timestamps in the description below, and you can skip forward to my actual hike. And hope you enjoy that. So quick video. No, not a quick video, longer video, but I think you'll find it interesting. The Whitehorse Wilderness area is absolutely gorgeous. And as a last note, Jasper wants to go down. Hang on. As a last note, the passes are snowbound this year. The winter was a hard one. The temperatures are cold, and I'd say the summer season in Alberta is about 2 weeks behind the usual. So enjoy this video, folks. Hey folks, so right now I am on a fairly deserted stretch of highway. The highway behind me is a highway that goes from Edson, Alberta, and heads south into the mountains. The next town that I'm going to meet is Robb, and then after that it's Cadomin, and then I'm going to go over the Cardinal Divide, and I'm going to go hike into Rocky Pass, which is a very seldom visited part of Jasper Park. But I just want to show you. So this road is called the Coal Branch. The reason it's called that is I used to live up here in Edson. All along here, towns like Cadomin, Robb, Merkel, Luscar are all towns that existed in the 1920s and 30s for the purpose of mining coal for the railroad that went along Highway 16, which is Highway 16 today. So, and this is a little cemetery along that road. This is actually a fascinating area to explore and fascinating history. I mean, you know, our ancestors who lived here, these little communities had their own hockey leagues. They played hockey against each other. You're very isolated. I mean, this is, you know, for a homesteader back in the days, this is a long, long, long ways away from any civilization. Boy, that's a long life. Look at these trees. These trees are typical of a lot of trees you find here because of the snow weight. You know, these trees are alive and well, but they're just subject to so much snow. What a nice place to be buried. I like visiting cemeteries. It's something I do in my travels often, and get a little history when you visit a cemetery, pay tribute. I mean, I admire our ancestors. We had very, 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 very hardy, tough, determined ancestors. To make a living in this part of the world, you know, 100 years ago, it's still a hard place to live. I can't imagine what these poor people endured. Oh well. Welcome to Robb, gateway to the coal branch. So this is actually Highway 40, otherwise known as the Forestry Trunk Road. So it parallels the Rocky Mountains from Grand Cache all the way south to not Bragg Creek, but way down south. And so right now it's paved, but it's about to become dirt. And now I'm going to go towards Cadomin. I'm about 40 kilometers away from Cadomin, but this also takes me up to Nordegg. And Nordegg is a nice staging area for hikes like Landslide and Lake of the Falls and things like that. But yeah, this is all coal mining country. Big coal mines through here. This is Cadomin, about as quiet a town as you can get. And over there is where I'm heading. You can see there's snow up in the elevation. That's the Cardinal Divide. That's the road used by the big mining trucks. There used to be a town here called Mountain Park, and the town disappeared. The original town was here for coal mining. Now if I look around, there's modern coal mining going on, but the original cemetery of Mountain Park is one of the interesting facts about Mountain Park is that we are at about 2,000 meters. We're very high here. So this was the highest permanently inhabited town in Canada when it was still in existence. It's a ghost town now. Actually, we used to be able to walk around and see where the old hospital was and things like that, but there's not much of it left now. $1938. Look at what it looked like. Crazy, eh? They came to these mountains from all over the world. They rolled up their sleeves and they went to work. $1939. People are still being buried here. kind of sad that the view is disrupted by this mining activity, but they'll this will reclaim over time, and maybe not in my lifetime, but if you're dead and resting here, you lived this life. You were a coal miner, so it's an appropriate place. Very peaceful. Can't think of a nicer place than a place like this to be buried. Wow. $75 for first place. First prize was equivalent to nearly 15 days of wages. End of the road. Shit. No. It's instantly 6 feet deep in gullies like this. That's impassable. Yeah, this ain't happening. It is soaking wet and deep snow. Impenetrable. Whew. Had to see it for myself. All right, hopefully the wind's not too bad. So I'm out in, I'm in a pretty remote area. I'm at the Cardinal Divide. Cardinal Divide's an important divide on the continent, especially in Canada, because it's a major divide between the Athabasca River and the Saskatchewan watershed. And the Saskatchewan rivers flow south from here and go past Calgary and then dump into Hudson's Bay, whereas the Athabasca, this watershed, dumps into Athabasca and flows up north to the Arctic Ocean. So it's a very important divide. Now I'm lucky, I've been hiking pretty much all winter. I'm out here today just testing to see what the conditions look like. I can say with a lot of certainty that winter was long here and the temperatures are still relatively cool, so the snow is not melting. So I'd say we're about 2 weeks behind the normal melt. So today is May, I think it's May 19th or 20th, but the real season for most backpackers, especially in the Rockies, will start in a couple of weeks. So most people don't hike in winter, they do hike in summer. And here in the Canadian Rockies in particular, the trails follow valleys and then go over mountain passes, and the problem is twofold. One is mountain passes will be snowbound for a long time, well into late June, July, sometimes even into August. And the second problem is all this snow that's melting goes into the valleys, and typically trails follow rivers, and you end up having to cross rivers frequently. Now the park services have put some bridges over rivers, but a lot of bridges get washed out year after year and have to be rebuilt, and sometimes it might take years before they're rebuilt. And so a real obstacle to hiking, other than the snowpack, becomes the rivers running. Not upset about this one. I came here, I saw what I wanted to see. There's still lots of snow. I went for a little hike, realized that nope, this is not happening today. I'm not going to exhaust myself walking in 6 feet of snow and it's soaking wet. So sometimes you just got to know when to turn around. Today is one of those days. Just a little too high right now. The winter was long. Temperatures are cool. The snowpack is not melting as rapidly as it has. Today's May 20th. I think another couple of weeks, most of these passes will be open, and then the season can start in earnest, the summer season. plan B. So I came from Edson by Cadomin, went past, and then went up here to the Cardinal Divide, and it was impassable, so I backtracked. Now I'm at Whitehorse Creek Provincial Recreational Area, and I'm going to hike into this backcountry campsite following the lower Whitehorse Trail. So, hey, why give up? I mean, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm not just going to not go hiking, so I'll find something. Have a plan B, but this turned out to be a good plan B. I'm feeling pretty happy right now. Trail's dry, well used. It's a horse trail, follows this creek, heads into Jasper, also heads into Fiddle Pass. I'm not going to go that far. Wow, they've done a great job of updating, providing maps and putting, you know, lots of markers. Yeah. Wow. Well, this doesn't disappoint at all. This is gorgeous. I forgot to mention that earlier, from the comfort of my truck, I saw a grizzly. Actually, an interesting coincidence. Shout out to Dieter, who many who follow the same community as me. If you're on backpacking in the Canadian Rockies or places like that, you've seen posts by a gentleman named Dieter. Well, I was south of Cadomin, halfway between Cadomin and the Cardinal Divide, and there's a truck parked there. Gentleman was taking pictures of the grizzly bear. So I stopped, got out of the truck, and he says, "Hey, you're Marty. I'm Dieter." Neat coincidence. Only two diehard guys would be out here today, and yeah, it was nice to finally put a name to a face, or a face to a name. Over my shoulder, this trail actually heads into Jasper, goes to Fiddle Pass, which is a long ways away, and Fiddle Pass is very unique looking, very, very, very unique looking pass. But it's 23 kilometers away. I'm not going there. So I'm just pausing here, making sure I check to make sure there's no grizzlies or bears, because something like this is a bear been digging up. The best offense against a bear is to have a good defense. You know, observe, look for signs, stuff like that. And I'm in the habit, especially when I'm alone, because you don't talk. So I just, ever so often, just yell out, "Hey, bear!" And then that just lets them know that I'm on the trail, so they won't get surprised. Because that's the worst encounter, is a surprise one where you just stumble upon one. Especially at this time of year, females with cubs, not good. 3:28. An hour. Personally, I like to take a break every hour for about 10 minutes. I find that if I have to be careful, because
If I go, let's say 2 hours for whatever reason without a break, then even a 30-minute break isn't enough. So you have to really pace yourself. So an hour, take a break for 15, an hour, take a break, because if you get too tired, you just won't recover at some point. I don't have far to go today, so I'm not stressed by this at all. The views, the scenery here is totally gorgeous. It's a perfect day for this. Might rain tonight, but I'm prepared. This is typically an elk that does that. They just rub their antlers when they're in velvet to get the velvet off in the fall. Chalky. You know you're near a campsite when all the trees have been cut, and sure enough. Now, the interesting question is, am I alone here? Did somebody start earlier and get farther? Trappers Campground. Actual tent pads, bear pole, and there it is, the green throne. In an environment like this, no matter what, just walking around camp, need the bear spray on you. Alright, well, once I come to a camp like this, I walk around, I get my bearings. You know, I want to know where the water is, where the bathroom is, where the bear pole is, see if there's a table or fire pit. I want to get to know the area. I walked around, there's nobody else. I walked around to see if there's any evidence of bears having been in here. It looks good. I don't have to choose a spot to put up my tent. That's already predetermined, so I'm going to put my tent here. So after I get my bearings, the number one thing I always do is set up my tent, because no matter what, if a storm comes in, it rains, I can always retreat to my tent and I'll be fine. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to set up my tent. I want my door. I want to see that mountain. it. Not very complicated. Then I just tighten everything down a little bit, go around. Perfect. Noticed I don't put a ground sheet underneath it. You know, a fancy name, some people call it a footprint. It's not really needed, especially not this tent. This tent is so amazing. You know, it's got a tub construction, so the bottom is like super waterproof. All these things go in the tent. First aid kit by my head, rain jacket, by my head for now, toiletry bag, puffy jacket. Sleeping bag. That pass over there and tell me that's not spectacular, eh? Wow. That's Fiddle Pass. So quiet, you know. I've said it before, you know, I started hiking solo because I wanted to go places farther and longer, and people didn't want to come, so I had to eventually start hiking on my own. And then I got to liking it. You know, there's something really, really, really special about being alone. I mean, I'm alone here. Like, you know, I'm 5 kilometers from the trailhead, and a good distance from anything civilized, and I'm all alone. And of course, now I have new friends that like hiking, so I'm going to hike with friends again, but I still like hiking alone. And you know, it's not that hard to get into hiking solo. I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again. I mean, start by hiking. Go with friends, become familiar, become comfortable hiking, backpacking. And then, as an evolution, go alone, but go alone on a popular trail, and one that doesn't take you that far. You know, don't go 20 miles into the wilderness. Go alone on a popular trail. Go do Glacier Lake, 8 kilometers. Go do Taylor Lake. Go do Flow Lake, and you know, or whatever, something. But go on a popular trail by yourself. But go somewhere where there will be other people, and that way, if you have a problem, the hiking community is fantastic, and everybody will help you. And you know, as an example, Point is a nice campground. Go to Point, and instead of staying at the most popular spot in Point, go off a little bit and be on your own, but be, you know, in earshot of other people if you have to. And then move up, and then after that, go hiking alone on a popular trail, but maybe go farther.
and then eventually you'll get into it, and then you'll be able to go hiking alone on less popular trails and maybe even farther. So I encourage people to try it, and if to feel really safe you need to get that in reach or whatever, get that, you know. I mean, you didn't see me today, but at the trailhead I had cell service, so, and this was a deviation from what I had initially planned, but luckily I was able to get a hold of my wife, and I told her very precisely where I am, and I said, you know, I'm going in 5K and I'll be out tomorrow, and if I'm not out tomorrow night, she'll wait a day, and if I'm not out the next morning, well, then she'll call and somebody will come looking for me. But that's my encouragement to you, to go outside solo, start on a popular trail by yourself, and then move up. But listen, I mean, this is, wow. I'm in heaven, you know. And trust me, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and the willingness to get on the trail sometimes is a little daunting. So pack your bag, pick your trail, and then don't think too far ahead. Just drive to the trailhead, load your pack, get going, and just deal with the next moment always. You know, I gotta walk, I gotta stop, I gotta set up camp. Before you know it, you're doing it. But don't, you know, it's tempting to start at the trailhead and think, oh my God, I'm going to be there alone. I'm going to have to set up my tent by myself. I'm going to have to find water. What if I get injured? Don't think about those things. Just think of the things you need to do one at a time, and then it all falls in place. I mean, I'm here now. I got water. I got my food. I got my stove. My tent is set up. I'm going to boil some water, have a cup of soup. That'll just make me so happy, and then I'll ponder the next thing. But basically I'm going to sit here and just enjoy these sceneries.